My name is Owen Kerral, and I used to think the worst thing about logistics coordination was explaining to people what logistics coordination actually means. Turns out, I was wrong. The worst thing is having enough organizational skills to notice when your wife starts scheduling her life around someone else's. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm 37, work for a mid-sized shipping company in Cleveland, and until 3 months ago, I thought my biggest problem was convincing truckers that GPS systems aren't government mind control devices. I drive a sensible Honda, live in a sensible house in a sensible neighborhood, and married a woman who used to think sensible was attractive. Used to. Marisa Kerral, she kept both names, which should have been my first clue, is a freelance makeup artist. Beautiful work, really. She can make a 60-year-old bride look 30, or transform someone into a zombie for Halloween. Lately, she's been practicing a new look. Guilty wife trying to appear innocent. She's not very good at it. The signs started small. New clothes that didn't come from Target. Suddenly caring about her phone's privacy settings. Working late on projects that apparently required her to shower and change clothes beforehand. I'm not stupid. I coordinate supply chains for a living. I notice patterns. Owen, I'm meeting Nikki for drinks, she announced last Tuesday, applying lipstick in our hallway mirror. Nikki Raines, her best friend and personal enabler, who treats other people's marriages like reality TV shows. Which bar? I asked, not looking up from my laptop. Just downtown. That new place. Downtown Cleveland has 43 bars that could qualify as new, depending on your definition. I know because I looked it up. But I just nodded and said, "Have fun." She kissed my forehead, the kind of kiss you give a brother, and left in a cloud of expensive perfume I didn't buy her. That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I found the receipts first. Marisa's always been terrible with money management, leaving credit card statements scattered around like confetti. Dinner at Romano's, expensive Italian place, for 2 people, $93. Uber rides to addresses I didn't recognize. A hotel charge for 1 night, downtown Cleveland, premium room. The hotel charge was dated last Thursday. Last Thursday, she told me she was staying at her sister Hannah's place because Hannah was going through a rough patch and needed company. I called Hannah that night to check on her. She was fine, hadn't seen Marisa in weeks, and was very confused about why I thought she was having problems. That's when I knew. I could have confronted her then. Should have, probably. But I'm a logistics guy. I like to have all my information before making decisions, so I waited, and watched, and documented. The texts were easiest. Marisa never changed her phone password from our anniversary date, which is either trusting or stupid. Probably stupid, considering what I found. Messages to someone named Trent. Can't wait to see you tonight. Owen's working late again. Perfect timing. He has no idea, LOL. And my personal favorite, you're so much better than him at everything. Trent Verrill, as it turns out, is a 29-year-old DJ at some trendy club downtown. I looked him up on social media. Lots of shirtless photos, expensive sunglasses, and the kind of confident smile that comes from never having to explain what logistics coordination means to anyone. I spent a week gathering evidence like I was building a case for court. Photos, receipts, text screenshots, location data. My brother Eric would call it obsessive. I call it thorough. The confrontation happened on a Sunday morning. Marisa was making coffee, humming some song I didn't recognize, looking genuinely happy for the first time in months. I spread the evidence across our kitchen table like a presentation. "We need to talk," I said. She looked at the papers, then at me, and something shifted in her expression. Not guilt, not shame, something colder. "Oh," she said, stirring her coffee slowly. "You found out. That's it? That's all you have to say?" She shrugged. "What do you want me to say, Owen? That I'm sorry? That it didn't mean anything? That would be a start. But I'm not sorry." She sat down across from me, completely calm. And it does mean something. It means I'm finally happy. I stared at her. This woman I'd been married to for 8 years, who used to laugh at my terrible jokes and fall asleep on my shoulder during movies. This stranger wearing my wife's face. Happy, I repeated. Yes. Happy. Something you wouldn't understand. Try me. She smiled then, and it was the cruelest expression I'd ever seen. Trent makes me feel alive, Owen. He's exciting, he's passionate, She paused, considering her words carefully. He's much better than you, at everything. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. So what now? I asked. Now? She stood up, grabbing her purse from the counter. Now I'm going to his place. You can figure out the rest. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Owen? Don't wait up. I might not be coming back tonight, or tomorrow night, or maybe at all. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I sat there for a long time, staring at the evidence scattered across our kitchen table. 8 years of marriage, reduced to a pile of receipts and screenshots. All that time, I thought I was the one holding us together. Turns out, I was just the one too stupid to notice we were already broken. Well, at least she's honest, I thought, or just spectacularly cruel. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just hurt, it clarifies. Suddenly, all those little moments that seemed off make perfect sense. The way she started working out more, the new interest in trendy restaurants I couldn't afford, the way she stopped asking about my day. I didn't sleep that Sunday night. Instead, I did what I do best. I made lists. List 1, joint assets, house, 2 cars, savings account, checking account, investment portfolio Hannah helped us set up 3 years ago. Hannah Eldon, Marisa's older sister, works in financial planning and has always been the responsible one in their family. List 2, Marisa's spending patterns over the past 3 months, restaurants, clothing, ride shares, hotels, total $4,147 from our joint accounts. List 3, people who needed to know. My brother Eric, my lawyer. I'd need to find one. Hannah, definitely. She deserved to know what her sister was really like. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 2 years. I had research to do. I found David Brennan, divorce attorney, through online reviews. His office was downtown, not far from where Marisa had been spending so much time lately. Ironic. How long have you been married? Brennan asked, reviewing the evidence I'd brought. 8 years. Children? No, we talked about it, but Marisa always said she wasn't ready. Now I wondered if she just didn't want kids with me. This is pretty clear-cut adultery, Brennan said. Ohio's a no-fault state, but this kind of documentation can help with asset division, especially this spending pattern, using marital funds for an extramarital affair. What are my options? File first, freeze joint accounts, document everything, and whatever you do, don't move out of the house. Possession is 9/10 of the law. I wrote a check for his retainer. First time I'd spent money on something that felt like fighting back. Tuesday evening, Marisa came home around 10 p.m., smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. We need to talk about logistics, I said. I was sitting in our living room, laptop open, looking like I was working. I wasn't. Logistics? Living arrangements, finances, the practical stuff. She sat down on the opposite end of the couch. Owen, I know this is hard. I moved half the savings into a separate account today, I interrupted. My half. I also called the credit card companies and removed you as an authorized user. Her face went white. You can't do that. Actually, I can. I'm the primary account holder. Always have been. I closed my laptop and looked at her directly. I also called Hannah. You what? I called your sister, told her everything, showed her the evidence. This was a lie, but a strategic one. She's disappointed in you. Marisa stood up quickly. You had no right. I had every right. She's family. She deserves to know who you really are. The truth was, I hadn't called Hannah yet, but I was going to, and Marisa's reaction told me everything I needed to know about how much she cared about her sister's opinion. This is ridiculous, Owen. We're adults. We can handle this maturely. Maturely? I laughed. Like sneaking around behind my back for 3 months was mature? I was trying to figure things out. No, you were trying to have your cake and eat it too. Keep the stable husband paying the bills while you played house with DJ Boy. Her expression hardened. Don't call him that. What should I call him? Your boyfriend? Your lover? The guy you're cheating on me with? Trent is more of a man than you'll ever be. There it was. The real Marisa, no pretense left. Good, I said, standing up. Then he can start paying for your dinners. I went upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and locked the door. Through the thin walls, I heard her making phone calls. First to Nikki, then to someone else, probably Trent, crying about how mean her husband was being. Wednesday morning, she was gone before I woke up. She'd taken some clothes and her makeup kit, but most of her stuff was still there. Testing the waters, probably. Seeing if I'd cool down and let her come back on her terms. I called Hannah. Owen? Is everything okay? Hannah's always been direct. No small talk, straight to business. It's one of the things I like about her. I need to tell you something about Marisa. The conversation lasted 43 minutes. Hannah asked good questions, demanded to see evidence, and got progressively angrier as I explained everything. That stupid, selfish little... Hannah caught herself. I'm sorry, Owen. I know she's my sister, but this is inexcusable. I thought you should know. I'm glad you told me. Mom's going to lose her mind when she finds out. Mrs. Eldon, Marissa's mother, is old-school Catholic. Divorce is barely acceptable. Adultery is a mortal sin. This was going to get ugly. Hannah, can I ask you something? Of course. Did you see this coming? Any signs? Hannah was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, Marisa's always been restless. Even as a kid, she got bored easily. Moved from hobby to hobby, friend to friend. I hoped marriage would settle her down, but I was just another hobby. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Thursday evening, I got a package. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Someone I knew had sent it, but they didn't want to be identified. Inside were photographs. Marisa and Trent at various locations around the city. Kissing outside Romano's, holding hands in public square, getting into a hotel elevator together. The photos were high quality, taken with a good camera by someone who knew what they were doing. There was a note. You deserve better than this. Get revenge. I studied the photos for a long time. Professional quality, multiple locations, taken over several weeks. Someone had been following them, documenting their affair. Someone who wanted me to have proof. But who? That's the thing about secrets. They always want an audience. Friday morning brought clarity. I woke up in my own bed, in my own house, with a plan forming in my head like a logistics flowchart. Step 1, legal protection. Step 2, social consequences. Step 3, financial reality check. I'd always been the behind-the-scenes guy, the one who made sure things ran smoothly while other people got the credit. But logistics isn't just about moving boxes from point A to point B. It's about timing, leverage, and understanding how systems work. Marisa and Trent were about to learn what happens when you mess with someone who understands systems. I spent the morning at Brennan's office filing paperwork, divorce petition, temporary restraining order on joint assets, formal documentation of adultery. Everything legal, everything by the book. This is thorough, Brennan said, reviewing my evidence folders, almost obsessively thorough. I coordinate supply chains for a living. Thoroughness prevents problems. In this case, it's going to win you a very favorable settlement. That afternoon, I drove downtown to scout locations. I wanted to see where Marisa and Trent spent their time, understand their patterns. Know thy enemy, as they say. Club Velvet was exactly what I expected. Trendy, overpriced, full of people trying too hard to look important. The kind of place that charges $15 for a cocktail and calls it artisanal. Through the window, I could see Trent behind the DJ booth, wearing designer headphones and sunglasses indoors like some kind of electronic music messiah. He was younger than me, I'll give him that. Probably worked out more too. But there was something soft about him, something that suggested he'd never had to fight for anything in his life. Never had to explain to a client why their shipment was delayed because of a dock strike in Long Beach. Never had to balance a budget or fix a leaky faucet or deal with any of the mundane realities that keep the world running. I parked across the street and watched for an hour. Trent took a break around 4 p.m., stepping outside to smoke and check his phone. He was tall, well-dressed, confident in the way that comes from never being told no. The kind of guy who probably called older men buddy and meant it as an insult. That's when the plan solidified. I drove to a sporting goods store and bought a cooler, a bag of ice, and a cheap digital camera. Then I stopped at a costume shop and picked up a few items. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous, just props for a performance. That evening, Eric came over with pizza and beer. "You look terrible," he said, settling into my couch like he owned it. Eric's 2 years older than me, works as a mechanic, and has never been married. He considers this proof of superior intelligence. "Thanks for the pep talk. I'm serious. When's the last time you slept?" "I've been busy." "Busy planning what?" "You've got that look." "What look?" "The same look you had when Tommy Morrison stole your lunch money in 8th grade and you convinced half the school he was cheating on his girlfriend." "That was different." "Was it?" "Because Tommy's reputation never recovered, and neither did his relationship with Sarah Chen." I opened a beer and considered this. Tommy Morrison was a bully who deserved what he got. And Marisa? Marissa's a cheater who deserves what she's going to get. Eric studied me carefully. "What are you planning, Owen?" "Nothing illegal." "That's not what I asked." I told him about the divorce papers, the frozen accounts, the evidence I'd gathered. He nodded approvingly at the practical stuff, but I could see him getting worried as I described my plans for Trent. "Public humiliation isn't illegal," I said. "Neither is social embarrassment." "No, but it's risky. What if he fights back?" "He won't." "How do you know?" "Because guys like Trent don't know how to fight. They know how to charm and manipulate and take things that don't belong to them. But when someone fights back, they fold." Eric finished his beer and grabbed another one. "You sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Saturday night, I put my plan into action. Club Velvet was packed, which was perfect. More witnesses. I dressed carefully. Nice jeans, button-down shirt, nothing too fancy, but nothing that screamed bitter husband either. I looked like someone who belonged there. I ordered a drink at the bar and waited. Trent was in full performance mode, head bobbing to his own beats, occasionally pointing at attractive women in the crowd like he was personally responsible for their good time. Around 11 p.m., he took another break. This time, I was ready. I followed him outside, carrying my props, the cooler full of ice water, and a sign I'd made that read "Home Wrecker" in large, clear letters. "Trent Verrill?" I called out. He turned, cigarette halfway to his lips. "Yeah? I'm Owen Kerral, Marisa's husband." His face went through several expressions quickly. Recognition, guilt, then something like defiance. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble." "Neither do I," said, and dumped the entire cooler of ice water over his head. He gasped, stumbling backward, designer clothes soaked and clinging to his suddenly less impressive frame. "What the hell?" "That's for sleeping with my wife," I said loudly, making sure everyone in the smoking area could hear. "In case anyone's wondering, this is Trent Verrill, local DJ and professional homewrecker." I held up the sign for good measure. The crowd that had gathered was already pulling out phones, recording everything. Trent stood there, dripping and humiliated, looking like a drowned rat in expensive clothing. "You're crazy," he sputtered. "No, I'm thorough. There's a difference." I turned to the crowd. "Ladies, if any of you are dating this guy, you might want to ask him about his commitment issues. He's got a thing for married women." Someone in the crowd laughed, then someone else. Within seconds, the entire smoking area was buzzing with conversation and camera phones. Trent tried to salvage some dignity. "This is harassment." "This is consequences," I said. "You should look into them sometime." I walked away, leaving him standing there in a puddle of ice water and shame. Behind me, I could hear people talking, laughing, already sharing the video on social media. By Sunday morning, the video had gone viral locally. "Cleveland DJ gets ice bucket challenge from angry husband" was trending on Twitter. The comments were brutal. My phone rang around 10 a.m. Marisa. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed. "I introduced myself to your boyfriend. We had a very refreshing conversation." "You humiliated him, in front of everyone." "Yes, I did. How does it feel?" "Owen, this has to stop. We need to talk like adults. We tried that. You told me your boyfriend was better than me at everything, remember? Well, let's see how good he is at handling public embarrassment." I hung up. 20 minutes later, Hannah called. "I saw the video," she said. "And? And I'm proud of you. That little weasel had it coming." "You think I went too far?" "I think you went exactly far enough. Mom saw it too. She called Marisa this morning and told her not to come home until she's ready to apologize to you properly." "Mrs. Eldon saw the video?" "Owen, everyone saw the video. It's got 40,000 views already." I hung up and checked social media. Hannah was right. The video was everywhere, and the comments were overwhelmingly supportive of the wronged husband. Trent was being roasted mercilessly. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Nice work. He deserved worse." I stared at the message. Someone was watching. Someone who approved of what I'd done. The same person who'd sent the photos, maybe? That's when I realized this was just the beginning. Monday morning brought consequences, but not the kind I'd expected. I was at my desk, trying to focus on a shipment delay from Seattle, when my phone started buzzing with notifications. The video from Saturday night wasn't fading down. It was spreading. Local news had picked it up. "Cheated husband's creative revenge goes viral" was the headline on Channel 8's website. My boss, Janet Morrison, called me into her office around 10 a.m. "Owen, I need to ask you about something," she said, closing the door behind me. Janet's been running logistics for 23 years and has the no-nonsense attitude to prove it. "The video?" "The video. Is that really you dumping ice water on some DJ?" "It is." She was quiet for a moment, studying my face. "And this is about your wife?" "Soon-to-be ex-wife, yes." "I see." Janet leaned back in her chair. "Well, I can't say I blame you. My first husband cheated on me with his secretary. Very original." She paused. "But I need to know this isn't going to affect your work." "It won't." "Good, because half the office is calling you a hero, and the other half thinks you've lost your mind. I need you focused." "Understood." "And Owen, next time you want to humiliate someone, maybe do it on a weekend. We've had 3 reporters call asking for interviews." I spent lunch break checking social media. The video had hit 6-figure views, and people were sharing their own cheating stories in the comments. I'd accidentally become the poster boy for wronged spouses everywhere. But the real victory came that afternoon. Nikki Raines called me around 3 p.m. Nikki, Marisa's enabler-in-chief, who'd been encouraging this affair from the beginning. "Owen, we need to talk," she said, her voice strained. "About what?" "About Marisa. She's not doing well. That's not my problem anymore. She's staying at my place, and she's been crying for 2 days straight. The video, the comments, everyone talking about her. Again, not my problem. Look, I know you're angry. Angry? I laughed. Nikki, I'm not angry anymore. Angry was 3 months ago when I suspected something. Angry was last week when I found proof. Now I'm just efficient. What does that mean? It means I'm solving a logistics problem. Marisa created a mess, and I'm cleaning it up. By destroying her reputation? By telling the truth. There's a difference. Nikki was quiet for a moment. She wants to come home. The locks have been changed. Owen, tell her she can pick up her stuff next weekend. I'll be at Eric's. She's got 2 hours. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. Brennan here. It's Owen Kerral. I need to know about serving divorce papers. We can have them served tomorrow if you want, at her workplace, her friend's house, wherever she's staying. Do it, and I want to accelerate the asset division hearing. Any particular reason for the rush? I want this finished before she figures out how to fight back. That evening, Hannah came over with Chinese takeout and wine. You're becoming famous, she said, settling into my kitchen with containers of lo mein and General Tso's chicken. Locally famous, there's a difference. Still counts. Mom called me today. She wants to know if you're okay. What did you tell her? That you're handling things better than Marisa deserves. Hannah opened the wine. A nice bottle, better than anything Marisa and I usually bought. Can I ask you something? Shoot. Those photos you got in the mail. Any idea who sent them? I'd been wondering the same thing. Someone who wanted me to know the truth? Someone who cares about you? Or someone who hates Marisa? Hannah considered this. Could be both. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. Hannah's good company. Direct, honest, no drama. Everything her sister isn't. I saw Marisa today, Hannah said eventually. Where? At Nikki's apartment. I went to pick up some things Mom wanted to give her. How did she look? Terrible. Like she hadn't slept in days. She kept asking if I thought you'd forgive her. What did you tell her? Hannah smiled grimly. I told her that forgiveness has to be earned, and she hasn't even started trying. Harsh. True. Owen, can I tell you something? Of course. I never liked the way she treated you, even before this affair. She was always dismissive, like you were some kind of servant instead of her husband. This surprised me. You never said anything. It wasn't my place, but I noticed. We all noticed. We, Mom, me, even some of your friends, the way she'd interrupt you, or make jokes at your expense, or act like your job wasn't important. I thought about this. It was true. Marisa had always treated logistics coordination like it was some kind of hobby instead of a career. I guess I got used to it. Well, you shouldn't have. You deserve better. That's what the note said, with the photos. Hannah went very still. What note? Someone sent me photos of Marisa and Trent together. There was a note that said, "You deserve better. Get revenge." Huh. Hannah took a long sip of wine. Sounds like someone who really cares about you. Something in her tone made me look at her more carefully. Hannah? What? Do you know who sent those photos? She met my eyes directly. No idea, but whoever it was, they did you a favor. Later that night, after Hannah left, I found myself thinking about the photos again. Professional quality, multiple locations, taken over weeks. Someone with photography skills, someone who knew Marisa's schedule, someone who wanted to help me, someone who'd been watching and waiting for the right moment to act. I was starting to suspect I knew who my anonymous ally was. Tuesday brought the divorce papers. Brennan's process server found Marisa at Nikki's apartment around noon, and by 2 p.m. my phone was ringing off the hook. "You bastard!" Marisa screamed. "You served me at Nikki's front door. The neighbors saw everything." That was the point, I said calmly. I was at my desk, working on a shipping manifest for auto parts heading to Detroit. Normal work, Normal day, except for the part where I was systematically destroying my wife's life. This is harassment. This is divorce proceedings. There's a difference. I want to come home. We need to talk. The papers explain everything you need to know. You can respond through your lawyer. I don't have a lawyer. You should get one. I recommend someone who specializes in adultery cases. I hung up and got back to work. The Detroit shipment was 3 days behind schedule because of a warehouse fire in Chicago. Real problems with real solutions. Much more satisfying than marriage. Around 4 p.m., Eric stopped by my office. "Heard you served the papers," he said, settling into the chair across from my desk. "News travels fast. Nikki's been calling everyone, trying to get people to take Marisa's side. Says you're being cruel and vindictive." "Am I?" Eric considered this. "Yeah, probably, but she earned it." "Good. I'd hate to think I was being unfair." "What's next?" I showed him the folder I'd been building. More evidence, more documentation, more proof of Marisa's spending and lying. "I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who she is," I said. "Her friends, her family, her clients, everyone. That's thorough. I'm a thorough person." "Owen, can I ask you something?" "Shoot. Are you enjoying this?" I thought about it. Yeah, I really am. That evening, I put Phase 2 into motion. I'd spent the afternoon creating a detailed timeline of Marisa's affair, complete with dates, locations, and expenses. Everything documented, everything provable. Then I sent it to her entire contact list, not as an attack, as information. "Since Marisa has been telling people different stories about our divorce, I thought you should know the facts." Professional, factual, devastating. The responses started coming in within an hour. From her cousin Sarah. "Oh my God, Owen, I had no idea. I'm so sorry." From her college friend Michelle. "This is terrible. How are you holding up?" From her former client, Mrs. Patterson. "I always thought Marisa was such a sweet girl. This is shocking." And from about a dozen other people, variations of sympathy for me and disappointment in Marisa. But the best response came from an unexpected source. Around 9 p.m., Mrs. Eldon called me directly. "Owen, dear, I just read your email," she said. Mrs. Eldon is 72 years old, goes to Mass every day, and has never said a curse word in her life. She's also the most formidable woman I've ever met. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Mrs. Eldon." "Don't you apologize. You have nothing to be sorry for." Her voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "I raised that girl better than this." "I know you did. I'm going to have a talk with her. A very serious talk." "You don't have to." "Oh, but I do. This behavior is unacceptable, and she's going to hear about it from me." The next morning, Hannah called me at work, laughing so hard she could barely speak. "Owen," she gasped, "you have to hear this." "What happened?" "Mom called Marisa last night, told her she was ashamed of her, that she'd raised her better than to be an adulteress, and that she wasn't welcome at family dinner until she'd made things right with you." "She said that?" "She said that. In front of Nikki and 2 other people." Marisa started crying and tried to explain, but Mom cut her off. Said there was no excuse for breaking her marriage vows. Wow. It gets better. Mom also called Aunt Ruth, Uncle Jim, and about half our extended family. By this morning, everyone knows what Marisa did. I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. Mrs. Eldon's disapproval was like a social final verdict in their family. Marisa had just been excommunicated from her own relatives. "How's she taking it?" I asked. "Badly. Nikki called me this morning, begging me to talk to Mom, get her to ease up. I told Nikki that Marisa made her bed. Now she gets to lie in it." With Trent, presumably. "About that." Hannah's voice got more serious. "I heard Trent's been avoiding her since the ice water incident. Apparently being publicly humiliated isn't good for his image." Poor guy. Yeah, real tragedy. Anyway, I think Marisa's starting to realize she gave up a good husband for a guy who can't handle a little social pressure. That afternoon brought more good news. My phone rang around 3 p.m. Unknown number. Owen Kerral? Speaking. This is Marcus Webb, manager at Club Velvet. I need to talk to you about Trent Verrill. What about him? We had to let him go. The video from Saturday night has been bad for business. People keep coming in asking about the homewrecker DJ, and it's become a distraction. I tried to sound sympathetic. That's unfortunate. Look, I'm not calling to blame you. Guy had it coming, from what I hear. But I wanted you to know he's been asking around about you, trying to find out where you work, where you live. Asking around? Yeah. Talking tough, saying he's going to handle you. Probably just blowing off steam, but I thought you should know. I appreciate the heads up. No problem. And hey, good for you standing up for yourself. My wife cheated on me 5 years ago, and I wish I'd had the guts to do what you did. After I hung up, I called Eric. Trent's been asking around about me, I said. Asking what? Where I work, where I live. Webb at Club Velvet thinks he might be planning something. You worried? Not really, but I want to be prepared. What do you need? Can you come over tonight? Help me set up some security measures? What kind of security measures? The legal kind. Cameras, motion sensors, maybe a few deterrents. Deterrents? Nothing dangerous, just discouraging. Eric was quiet for a moment. Owen, you're starting to sound like you're planning a war. I'm not planning anything. I'm just preparing for possibilities. And if Trent shows up, then he'll learn the same lesson Marisa did. Actions have consequences. That evening, Eric came over with a toolbox and a bag from the electronics store. We spent 3 hours installing security cameras, motion-activated lights, and a few other surprises around my property. This is either really smart or really paranoid, Eric said, testing the camera angles. Both, probably. What if nothing happens? Then I'll have good home security. What if something does happen? Then we'll be ready for it. As we worked, I thought about how much my life had changed in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I was a boring logistics coordinator with a cheating wife and no backbone. Now I was a local celebrity with a security system and a plan. I was starting to like the new version of myself. Wednesday night, the storm finally broke. I was in my kitchen, eating leftover Chinese food and reviewing shipping schedules, when the motion sensors started going off. 3 quick beeps, then the exterior cameras activated automatically, flooding my phone with alerts. 2 figures were creeping around my backyard. Even in the grainy night vision, I could make out Trent's distinctive haircut and Marisa's silhouette. They were trying to break into my house. I called 911 first, then Eric. They're here, I said quietly, watching the camera feeds from my phone. Both of them? Yeah, trying to get in through the back door. Cops coming? Dispatch said 10 minutes. I'll be there in 5. I hung up and switched to the Neighborhood Watch app. Our area had started using it after a string of break-ins last year. With a few taps, I was broadcasting live video of my backyard to every neighbor within a 2-mile radius. The comments started immediately. Is that someone trying to break in? Call the police. Isn't that the guy from the ice water video? And his cheating wife? Within minutes, I had 47 neighbors watching Marisa and Trent fumble with my back door lock. They'd apparently decided that talking wasn't working, so they'd moved on to breaking and entering. The back door they were trying to force was connected to a little surprise Eric and I had rigged up. Nothing dangerous, just a bucket of washable paint balanced above the frame, triggered by the door opening. Home Alone style, but legal and non-harmful. Trent finally got the lock picked around the time Eric's truck pulled into my driveway. Owen! Marisa called out as they stepped inside. We need to talk. That's when the paint bucket tipped. Both of them got doused in bright blue latex paint. Marisa screamed, Trent started cursing, and 73 neighbors got to watch it happen live on the Neighborhood app. I opened my front door as Eric jogged up the walkway. Sounds like they triggered the paint trap, he said. Sounds like it. We walked around to the back of the house, where Marisa and Trent were standing in my kitchen, dripping blue paint onto my tile floor and looking like the world's most pathetic burglars. "Hi, honey," I said to Marisa. "Miss me?" "Owen, this is insane," she said, wiping paint from her eyes. "We just wanted to talk." "So you broke into my house?" "We knocked. You didn't answer." "I was busy, living my life without you in it." Trent stepped forward, trying to look threatening, despite being covered in blue paint. "This has gone far enough, man. You've humiliated us both, cost me my job. You cost yourself your job when you decided to sleep with married women." "I love her." "Congratulations, you can love her from someone else's house." That's when the police arrived, 2 officers, followed by what looked like half my neighborhood. Word had spread on social media, and people had come to see the show in person. "We got a call about a break-in," the first officer said. "Officer Martinez, according to his name tag." "That's correct," I said. "These 2 individuals broke into my home through the back door. It's all recorded on security cameras and was broadcast live to the Neighborhood Watch app." Officer Martinez looked at Marisa and Trent, both dripping paint and looking miserable. "Ma'am, do you live here?" We're separated," Marisa said. "But you don't currently live here?" "No." "And you entered without permission?" "We just wanted to talk to him." The second officer, Rodriguez, was checking his phone. "Hey, Martinez, this is the guy from that viral video, Ice Bucket Challenge thing." "No kidding." Martinez looked at me with something like respect. "Sir, do you want to press charges?" I looked at Marisa and Trent, both covered in paint, both humiliated in front of a growing crowd of neighbors. Marisa was starting to cry. Trent looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. "No charges," I said. "But I want them trespassed from the property." "You got it." As the officers took down information and issued trespass warnings, Hannah arrived. She took one look at her sister, covered in blue paint and tears, and started laughing. "Oh, Marisa," she said, shaking her head. "What were you thinking?" "I was thinking I wanted my husband back. By breaking into his house? We were desperate." Hannah looked at me. "Owen, I have something to tell you." "What?" "I sent you those photos." The crowd went quiet. Even the police officers stopped writing to listen. "You?" "I hired a private investigator 3 months ago. I suspected Marisa was cheating, and I wanted proof." Hannah's voice was steady, unapologetic. "I've been watching her destroy her marriage, and I couldn't stand it anymore. You deserve to know the truth." Marisa stared at her sister in shock. You were spying on me?" "I was protecting Owen from your lies." "I'm your sister. And you're a cheater. Family doesn't mean I have to watch you destroy a good man's life." The crowd was murmuring, phones recording everything. This was going to be all over social media within an hour. Trent finally found his voice. "This is harassment. All of you are harassing us." Eric stepped forward. "Son, you broke into someone's house. That's not harassment. That's crime prevention." "I didn't break anything." "You picked a lock and entered without permission. That's breaking and entering." Officer Martinez finished his paperwork. "All right, everyone, show's over. Ma'am, sir," he addressed Marisa and Trent, "you're officially trespassed from this property. If you come back, you'll be arrested." As the crowd began to disperse, Mrs. Eldon's car pulled up to the curb. "Oh no," Hannah whispered. Mrs. Eldon got out of her car slowly, surveying the scene. Her daughter, covered in blue paint, standing next to a man who wasn't her husband, surrounded by police and neighbors. "Marisa Catherine Eldon," she said, her voice carrying across the yard. "What have you done?" The silence was absolute. Marisa tried to speak, but no words came out. Mrs. Eldon walked up to her daughter and looked her up and down. "Blue paint suits you," she said finally. "It matches how I feel about your behavior." Then she turned to me. "Owen, dear, I'm sorry you had to deal with this nonsense." "It's okay, Mrs. Eldon." "No, it's not. I raised her better than this. She looked back at Marisa. You're not welcome at family dinner until you've apologized properly to this good man and gotten your life straightened out. With that, Mrs. Eldon got back in her car and drove away. The police officers left. The neighbors gradually dispersed. Eric helped me clean up the paint in my kitchen, while Hannah stayed to talk to Marisa. Through the window, I could see the sisters having an intense conversation by Trent's car. Marisa was gesturing wildly, still covered in paint. Hannah stood with her arms crossed, unmoved by whatever arguments her sister was making. Finally, Marisa and Trent got in his car and drove away. Hannah came back inside, where Eric and I were mopping up the last of the paint. What did she say? I asked. She wanted to know if I thought you'd ever forgive her. What did you tell her? I told her that forgiveness is earned, not given, and she's got a lot of earning to do. Hannah looked around my kitchen, then at me. Owen, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy with how this all turned out? I thought about it. 2 weeks ago, I'd been a boring logistics coordinator with a cheating wife and no self-respect. Tonight, I was a man who'd stood up for himself, exposed the truth, and watched justice play out in real time. Yeah, I said. I really am. Eric finished mopping and leaned against the counter. So what now? Now I finish the divorce, keep the house, and get on with my life. And Marisa? I shrugged. Marisa can figure out her own life. She's not my problem anymore. Hannah smiled. You know, I think this is the first time I've seen you really stand up for yourself. It feels good. It looks good on you. As Eric and Hannah prepared to leave, my phone buzzed with notifications. The neighborhood app video had been shared hundreds of times. Local news was already calling, wanting interviews. The story was going viral again. Owen Kerral, local celebrity, Eric said, grinning. Owen Kerral, free man, I corrected. After they left, I sat in my quiet house, my house, and opened a beer. Tomorrow, I'd go back to coordinating shipments and managing logistics. But tonight, I was going to enjoy the silence. No more lies, no more betrayal, no more Marisa. Just me, my house, and the satisfaction of a job well done. Outside, it started to rain, washing the last traces of blue paint from my driveway. Even the weather was helping me clean up the mess. I raised my beer in a toast to no one in particular. Here's to consequences, I said aloud. Somewhere across town, Marisa and Trent were probably trying to wash paint out of their hair and figuring out where they were going to sleep tonight. Not my problem anymore. I'd spent 8 years trying to make someone else happy, trying to be good enough for someone who never appreciated what she had. Never again. Tomorrow, I'd start building a life for someone who actually deserved it. Me.